females don't have a place in law enforcement and they should just be at home, barefoot and pregnant, and cooking their meals for their man. That's where they belong, in the kitchen. Now, that's not my opinion, but that's the opinion of a lot of males in society in the United States, as well as males that work within the law enforcement genre. Now, I know that might be hard for some people to hear, but unfortunately, that's how a lot of people feel. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the important role that females have in the law enforcement environment. Now, contrary to popular belief, women, they have a place in law enforcement. They play a vital role, and we're going to talk about that in this video. And unfortunately, you have a lot of women that have to endure a lot of bull crap from their male counterparts. It is what it is. I've had numerous conversations with different women that are in different groups, and they're not even connected. And when you add up all of the things that they say and that they talk about, it's almost the exact same thing. And when I blew the whistle at work and I was, fighting against all of these different things, I was also fighting for women on the job as well, because they were just getting dragged through the mud. And it was just absolutely disrespectful. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So as I've said, I've talked to numerous women where I work and other places, and it seems like the common denominator, it's they feel like they're unwanted in the environment. They have to deal with the unwanted sexual advances or the sexual innuendos and the jokes, all those different things. And a lot of times they're not considered in, the eyes of the male officers as an equal. And as a result, they may put them on, a diversion thing, right? Let's say the men, they're going to get down with the get down and do all the fun stuff, whatever. They'll tell the female officers, hey, go over here and make sure this paint is drying and report back to us, and they do that on purpose to exclude the women out of these different missions, which isn't right. Now, for me working, in law enforcement, I don't want to be continuously reminded that I'm a black man. I don't want to continuously be reminded that my skin is black or that I'm a male. But unfortunately, a lot of women in the law enforcement world, they have to be constantly reminded that they're a female and that they're not good enough and that they are in a man's house and they need to know their place. How would that make you feel if you're constantly, quote unquote, put in your place? Your careers can be sabotaged. You can be placed on the sideline. So all the other men, they get all the heavy lifting and all the glory while you're just sitting on the sidelines. That's not cool. Now, I can say this, right? Women have a special ability. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to talk in the context of working inside the jails and the prisons. Now, women, they have a unique ability of being able to communicate with the male inmates in a certain way that I couldn't do as a man. Now, I'll give you an example. There's this lady, right? This is a black lady, real cool. I call her like my work auntie or whatever. Really cool. And, she kind of hood, she grew up in South Central, right? So she a little hood, but the way that she can talk to the inmates and get them to do things, I definitely know I couldn't do that because those would be fighting words. So example, right? And I've seen this where you might have some male inmates and they're walking around sagging their pants and she might say, hey, she might say their name or she just might say, hey, and she'll be like, ninja, pull up your pants. Now, obviously she didn't say ninja, but for community standards, right? She would be like, ninja, pull up your pants. Don't nobody want to see all that. Pull them up. You need to act right. You ain't got no home training. Well, I'm going to teach you some home training. And the inmates, they wouldn't say nothing back there. Just like, all right, Miss So-and-so. And they pull their pants up, do their thing. But they have a way of being able to convey things. Now, there was this one time where I was kind of like, ooh, I couldn't say that because there would be fighting going on. So basically there was this inmate, right? He wasn't, conducting himself like a man, right? And so she told him, like he lied to her and stuff. And she said, well, since you don't want to be a man, I got some mascara in my bag. If you want to put some mascara on, I got some if you want to use it. And afterwards, when the inmate left, I was like, see, that's the stuff y'all can say. I can't say that because if I say that, we fighting immediately. It's on site, we fighting. Because the inmate, they're going to take that as straight up disrespect. Excuse me. But when it comes to the female officers, they can be looked at as that mother figure, that sister figure, that daughter figure, things of that nature. So they're going to be able to reach the inmates or grab them by the collar in a different way that a male officer could do. Now, here's something crazy too, right? Now, I remember there was this female officer. She was kind of worried about working in the joint, female staff member, because she was pregnant and she was concerned about her child's well-being and all that stuff, right? I totally get it. So she had told me, she asked me for my opinion. I gave her my opinion, and then she talked to one of the gang investigators, and she said the gang investigator told her, I can't obviously make no guarantees, but believe it or not, you're probably safer, right? Again, you're probably safer and have more protection as a pregnant woman, because when you work a regular yard, now I'm not talking about 50-50 yards, dropout yards, things of that nature. On a regular yard, don't no inmate want something on their jacket where they hurt a pregnant female or cause the untimely death of a baby in the womb. They don't want that. And I've seen this, right? Where you'll have pregnant women and the inmates, they'll open the door for them. Hey, Miss So-and-so, do you need this? Are you okay? This, that, and the other. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, right? Of course, you always have to have that protective layer on, because you don't know if they're trying to just manipulate. But there are times where the inmates, right? They have kids. They remember the times where their old lady or whatever, they were pregnant. And so it's like when you're in this environment with all men, right? And then you see this pregnant lady and it kind of reminds you of home or whatever, you're going to kind of go out of your way to make sure they're protected. So they will open the doors. They'll say, hey, do you need this? Do you need that? Don't worry, I'll handle it. If there's like a dispute with the inmates or whatever, one of the dudes that got enough juice, they'll just, hey, leave her alone, get out of it. And I've seen it where one of the dudes, I think it was a Crip, and they was kind of arguing in front of her. And the dude just said, he just did that, like, get out of here. And they left. You know what I'm saying? So those different types of things, female officers have the ability to connect versus male officers. Because I can tell you right now, if male officers, if we showed up, with obviously we can't do that for obvious reasons, but let's just say if we showed up in a wheelchair and we had a neck brace on and two crutches, they ain't opening no doors for us. Now some, they might out of respect maybe, but as far as how the female officers can be treated, it ain't happening. It just ain't happening. So, as it relates to females in leadership positions within law enforcement, or more specifically in the prison, they have a difficult time. Having high up female administrators, it's few and far between. And I can say, right, as far as my career goes, I've had two promotions in my entire career with this department, and they've been decent promotions. But both of those promotions, it came from female administrators. It didn't come from males. So for me, I don't have an issue with women, what I'm saying, in leadership positions. But obviously you'll have the same old, knuckle dragger responses like, oh, women shouldn't be in leadership because they're too emotional. They lead with their emotions. What would happen if, you order the code red and you're on your period, and when they're on their period, they just act all crazy, this, that, and the other. It's just a lot of anecdotal things that, it's not fair. And those types of opinions, although you have a right to have them in your mind or even in your heart, you're not supposed to express those things. That goes against many different EEO infractions, right? Not infractions in criminal, but just EEO things, right? And I can say, right, I've seen women. I remember this one female. Now, she didn't tell me, right? So this is hearsay. There was this female that wanted to be a captain at our spot. And this is hearsay again. And I was told by somebody that talked to her, and she was told point blank that she could forget about it. She ain't gonna be no female captain because females have no business being a captain in a prison, and they have no business being in a leadership role in prison. And this was a Hispanic female, you know what I'm saying? And to my knowledge, she was squared away. She knew her stuff. I didn't know her personally. And to be honest, I kind of stayed away from her because she was a lieutenant, but I just wasn't trying to, she was in a different clique, right? Just put it like that. But even though she was in a different clique, people that I didn't really mess with, she seemed to know her stuff. You know what I'm saying? And, that really stuck with me. Now, let me tell you something funny, right? A few years ago, right, there was like, oh, you ain't gonna be no captain, and we don't want no female captains. Fast forward after the homie and I, after we've been raising noise, at our prison and doing some legal battles and administrative battles, now we got a black female captain, right? A black female captain. And people can say whatever they want to say, but I know for a fact, what I'm saying, that the decision to make this black female a captain, it was politically motivated because, again, the homie and I, we have been raising noise. And like I said, well, actually, you'll see a video that I'm going to do in the next few days where I talk about, the fighting that we've been doing against just the unfair, racist, discriminatory, sexist behavior within the ranks. But now, what I'm saying, there's a black female captain. She's doing her thing. But that didn't come because, now I'm not saying that she wasn't qualified. I'm not saying she wasn't capable. So I'm not trying to take away from her. All I'm saying is she was competent, she was capable, but it took people fighting for her to get that spot. And like I said, yes, I was trying to fight for black folks on the job. And a lot of the black officers, majority of the black officers left me hanging. And I'll talk about that. I'm going to release a video soon about that. But even though, what I'm saying, she was most likely qualified and capable of doing the job, it took fighting for her to get in that spot. And then on top, well, I won't share that stuff. But anyways, right, it's very, very difficult for females on the job. You just straight up have some knuckle dragging male officers that just don't want to take orders from a female. They believe that females are beneath them, that females are inferior to them. And it is what it is. I didn't come up with this. This has been the culture for many, many years. Now, let me go back a little bit to talking about the fight, right? I've been fighting for different protected classes within the context of EEO. It's been females, it's been black males, it's been other people that consider to be minorities, older staff members, all that stuff. I've been fighting for a lot of different groups on the job because it's just so unfair what's going on. But just know that some of these things that eventually have come to pass, it only came to pass because of work that my homie and I, that we've had to put in to do that. My local union, what I'm saying, they left us hanging. They didn't want nothing to do with it. They stood us up high and dry. What I'm saying? The bigger higher ups in the union, they didn't want nothing to do with it. They weren't doing anything. But we had to roll up our sleeves and we had to do it. You know what I'm saying? But it does take fighting. And even after this black female got this captain role, there was other appointments of other females and black females in other positions that I know that was just, the department's way of trying to save face. And I talked to a higher up that they acknowledged it. You know what I'm saying? I had a conversation. And see, that's what the thing is. Some of y'all don't know. Y'all think like I'm just out here just on my own and I'm just this lone renegade. Trust me when I say I got support from different people up and down the chain. Trust me when I tell you. And I had a conversation with this individual that's high up on the food chain. And when I told this person what was going on where I work, that was like, yeah, I heard about it. That's just, the department. They're trying to self-correct and make it seem like it ain't what it is with the things that you and your homie are arguing. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not trying to take away from what she's done or what the other people have done in their own personal accomplishments to reach their goal. All I'm saying is sometimes, even though you're qualified and you're competent and you're capable, you still sometimes have to fight just to get what you deserve and to get what you are owed. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to tell you this quick story, then I'm going to wrap up this video where a female officer, man, because trust me, man, you got a lot of male officers that are scary. And here's the funny, like, double standard, right? They'll say just automatically off the back, if you're female, you're no good. If you're female, you're not strong enough. You're not smart. Just the fact that you are a female, they say you're just not good enough. But for the men, it's just automatically assumed that you're good enough. And so in this situation, right, there was this officer in the unit. He had went on the radio and he said something like he has some disgruntled inmates in the unit. I don't know if he said black inmates or just inmates. So I started walking over because I'm like, okay, let's see, maybe I need to get a head start, start walking. So we get there and it was tense, right? It was a group of Crips, and the shot caller for this particular set, right? He was on my work detail, and so I walk up and I could tell it was bad. So just long story short, the officer that was in the unit, who was known for being an idiot, you know what I'm saying? He don't have no professional decorum. He just don't know how to act. He's an idiot. You know what I'm saying? But he basically he fronted out the black inmates and tried to make them do something that, you know what I'm saying, wasn't their job. It was the job of, I think, a different car to do it. So they refused to do it. So long story short, again, I know I said that, but they had to remove that officer from the unit because his safety was in jeopardy being in that unit. So here it is. You got this bubbling hot, you know what I'm saying, fire-filled unit that could just pop off at any time against staff. And so the captain, he came over. And so the captain was like, hey, go up there for me, relieve the dude, tell him to bring his stuff, and then just, hold it down in that unit. So I ain't even gonna lie. At first I was like, man, why you asked me to do it? I ain't gonna lie, but I went up there, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna punk out. I went up there. And so I was in there. I kind of filled things out for a second. And I didn't really have issues in that unit because a lot of those inmates, they already know me. They know how I operate. They know how I move and groove. So I didn't have no issues from them. But obviously, there was this female officer that I work with, and we both had walked over there. So she was standing outside, and then she was like, you know what? Let me go in there because if something happens to so-and-so, I won't be able to live with myself, right? And so she went in the unit. Nobody asked her to go, but she went in the unit because she was trying to protect me, right? She was trying to have my back. And when we all got done with the stuff, and she told me, she was like, I saw you had to go in there. And I was like, oh, if something happens to him, I won't forgive myself. Let me just go on in. That made my heart feel good. Like, honestly, that really meant a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I could definitely tell you that females have a place in law enforcement, whether people want to accept it or not. It's not even, and especially in the prison, it's not about, like, you remember that former wrestler, she passed away, China. She was on, well, at the time, I think it was WWF. But y'all remember China, right? And she was all stacked and all that. Some people feel like unless you look like that, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt as a female. But I can definitely tell you that when you're working in the prison, your biggest weapons is going to be your brain and your mouth, the words that you use. Those are your biggest weapons. And sometimes females, they have the ability to communicate with the inmates better than we can. And they can quell things. They can, put the fire out, all that type of stuff. So for her, and she was short. She's a small little thing, right? She's short, maybe, I don't know, five maybe or something. She's really short. But she walked in that unit, where a gang of inmates were in there, and I was the only one in there at the time. And she walked in there to have my back, and I was just like, hey, I'm happy with that. And now I'm telling you, man, that really, really made me feel good. So just know, man, that in that environment, it's not all about brute strength. It's not all about, females need to look like China to try to contribute. It's all about strategy. It's all about your mouth and your brain and how you treat, the inmates. It's all about respect. So I want to salute, man, to all the women that's working in law enforcement, whether it be on the streets, probation, parole, in the jails, the prisons, wherever it is. I want to salute y'all because you guys definitely have a difficult job working in law enforcement because you're dealing with, the quote unquote bad guys, and you're trying to keep the peace or restore order, whatever it may be. But you got to worry about the suspects and the inmates, and you have to worry about your male counterparts who, always try to talk about how you don't belong, and they try to belittle you and make you feel like, you have no place. So I definitely want to say I salute all the female officers that work in the environment, and my hat is off to you. And I hope that you're able to inspire other females to get involved, in the law enforcement world, because we definitely need more female officers, and we need more minority officers. We just need it. I always say that, the more diverse a department is, the better you increase your chances of being able to effectively communicate with your community or effectively communicate with whatever demographics that you're dealing with. So I salute you guys, or sorry, that's not the right way to say it. I salute you gals, And much respect, much props. Holla at your boy.